Learn. So let's begin. We are on Daf Chaf Daled Amud Aleph on page 24a, and we're learning a lot of stories and discussing them. We started yesterday, the new Gemara of yesterday. We learned about Reb Yehuda Nasiya, who was the grandson of Reb Yehuda Nasi, and he was Geyser a Taanis. He decreed a fast, and no rain came. It was a little. He was hurt. He said, "What's?" He says, "There's a major difference between Shmuel Haramasi and Yehuda ben Gamliel. Woe to this generation that you're stuck with me, and woe to the generation in whose days this has happened." And he became very weak in his mind and basically depressed and humbled, humiliated. And sure enough, rain came. So it worked. Ultimately, the humility brought about the rain. And then the Gemara says another story of that the house of the Nasi proclaimed a fast, and Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish didn't know about it. And so Reish Lakish asked Rabbi Yochanan about the fact that we didn't accept the fast and the day before. Normally, you're supposed to accept the fast at the mincha time of the day before. And he said that he answered him that it's not a problem because we go after the Nasi. If the Nasi made this fast, so it sort of pulls us along. We are included in that acceptance that the Nasi established this public fast. We mentioned a few discussions of the commentaries over here about what exactly was Reish Lakish's question to Rabbi Yochanan. Seemingly, he has to fast no matter what, because the fact is, if your community is fasting, you're subject to follow the custom of your community. Even if you leave, you have to keep the customs of where you're coming from. If you go to a new place, you keep the custom, you have the customs of where you're going to. And here they didn't leave; they're in the community, and for sure they have to keep the fast. So the commentaries mentioned these two ideas of, number one, maybe the question was not about fasting; it was only about mentioning the anenu in their fast. And the other question was possibly the entire community didn't know about the fast. So maybe that was the question. If the community knew about the fast, yeah, then they would have to fast. But maybe the entire community was not really told about this fast. It was like some type of it was done in secrecy, or that no one found out about it. So the question was about the whole community if they have to fast, because no one knew about it, no one accepted it. Anyway, it turns out that the conclusion of the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan's conclusion, was Anan Basrinan Basrayu Gorarinan. We follow them, and basically it sounds like they would have to fast, and they say the Anenu and so on. Then the Gemara talked about this story of this young Oishaya or Oishia. He was the youngest of the colleagues in the yeshiva, but it seems like he had a very sharp tongue. And community, he said something negative about the Beit Nasiya, about the house of the Nasi, of the leader, because what he said was, what happened was they made a decree for rain. It didn't rain. So he said this pasuk, which basically emphasizes the fact that the leaders of the generation are called the eyes of the generation. Einei ha'eda, the eyes of the congregation. And he said that when you have a bride who's still in her father's house, in other words, they haven't gotten properly married, completely married yet. Maybe they did the Erusin, they didn't do the Nisuin, They didn't finish. They didn't finalize their marriage. So she's still living by her parents. And the thing is that if her eyes look good, then you're sort of not worried about her body. You assume she must look. She must. She must be fine. But if her eyes are feeble or weak or they don't look nice, and then the body you start getting nervous. Maybe her whole body maybe has some blemishes, and she looks a little. Maybe things are not. Um, uh, Maybe she doesn't look pretty. Maybe she miss. That might be. Might have different blemishes or whatever. So you start getting nervous about her whole body. If her eyes look good, then it's fine. So the understanding that he was so what was he getting at? What he's getting at is that if you people, you leaders, Bey Nasiya, the house of the Nasi, if you would be righteous, God would not be scrutinizing our actions, the regular people's actions. Because if you people are good, the eyes of the community, of the congregation is appropriate, then Hashem will listen, we'll let it rain. He'll just he won't scrutinize our actions. But if you people are bad, that means the eyes are not looking right, then Hashem is going to scrutinize our actions. And so it's all your fault, he's basically saying, that it's not raining. It's our fault also, but it's only our fault because you people are guilty, because you're the eyes. And if the eyes would look nice, Hashem wouldn't even look into our actions. So it's only because of you that we're having this problem. So it was basically an insult to the house of the Nasi. Now, I should mention that one of the commentaries talks about this Gemara, Chumash, the Klayakar. He brings down this Gemara. He says that what does it mean? The eyes are nice. He says what it means is it doesn't mean begashmius. If the eyes are nice, then the whole body is nice. You assume. He says it means beruchnius. If she has a good eye, she has an ayin yafa. She has a good eye. That means she looks positive at other people. She thinks positive thoughts. She has instead of the opposite of an ayin hara, that's someone who tries to think negative about other people. That's an ayin hara. Instead, she has an ayin toiva. So then you know that she's a good person. Because if she has a good eye, she has a positive thinking about others, then you know that all her actions are going to be good. That's what it means. Not about the physical beauty of the eye. That's the way the Klayaka wants to explain this Gemara. That it's a more of the ruchnias, and more about the ayin hara, ayin yafa, that an ayin toiva, ayin toiva, ayin ra. It's about if she thinks positive about other people or she thinks negative about other people. Someone thinks negative about other people, then you have to worry about all her midos, that her whole body needs to be checked. In other words, you got to check out all of her traits, because she might be mean, she might get angry, she might scream, she might this, she might take revenge, she might, once you know she has a bad eye, then she might have all the other negative traits. But if it's a good eye, then you don't have to worry. So anyway, the bottom line is that this Oishia Zeira was the youngest of the chevra, of the students. He said this about the Nasi. They got very angry. They sent the servant came and tried to put some type of a sudar, like a kerchief around his neck, and was harassing him. So they told him, they said, just leave the guy. Leave him alone. This is Oishia, the famous Oishia, we're used to him already over here. He used to bother us, but when we realize that everything he does is l'shem shamayim, he does things for the sake of heaven, we just left him, and we don't bother him. We leave him be, which is an interesting line, that if all of your actions are l'shem shamayim, so even though you do some things that are a little crazy, it sort of gets pushed aside because all your actions are l'shem shamayim, people will have mercy on you, you know. But it's when you're hypocritical, that's when you get into problems. If you have your own interests and you do things also, you know, then you also do crazy things, then you get into trouble. But if all your actions are always l'shem shamayim, say have some little, you know, rebuke people, maybe you shouldn't. You say some things, few things that'll seems like from this Gemara that people will let it go because all of your actions are l'shem shamayim because you always mean so well. So certain things get brushed away, and you don't have to worry about them. Just a little hint from that's what it seems like from the Gemara. All right. Anyway, so that's the story of the Einei Ha'eda, the speaking negative about the house of the Nasi. And then the Gemara mentions the story of Ilfa, or some say Rebbe Ilfi, that basically Rebbe was decreed a fast, but the rain didn't come. Then they had this person, Davin, go be the chazan, and all of a sudden he says Mashav Haruach, which is interesting because Mashav Haruach isn't even a request; it's just a praise to Hashem. He's just praising Hashem. The wind, Hashem makes the wind blow, Hashem makes it rain, and he's just talking about the praises of Hashem. And all of a sudden, the wind starts blowing, the rain starts falling. So Rebbe went over there. He says, "What do you do? Like you must be a very holy person." So he says, "Well, I give the Kiddush wine, the Havdalah wine. I live in this very poor community, and I provide them with Kiddush and Havdalah, and I am Yaitze their obligation of Kiddush and Havdalah, and therefore that's my merit, basically." The commentaries talk about the fact that Rebbe also had a lot of merit. You shouldn't think that Rebbe didn't have merit, but Hashem wanted either not to use up Rebbe's merit, and the merit of this person caused it to rain. I mentioned yesterday, it seems a little surprising, this whole concept of making Kiddush without having a meal there. So, and I did see that one of the commentaries, Sharim Mitziyana B'Halacha, one of the halachic commentaries on the Gemara, does talk about this. He says that, first of all, there is an opinion that you don't have to have a meal after Kiddush. But maybe this opinion, maybe Rebbe followed that view. Again, we don't paskin that way. Maybe Rebbe followed that view. And he also brings that there's a possibility that it's only rabbinic, that you need to have a meal with Kiddush. And it could be that they wanted, at least this rabbi, Ilfa, or Rabbi Ilfi, what he wanted to do was at least let them fulfill the biblical obligation, even if they're not going to be Yaitze the rabbinic obligation. At least they can be Yaitze the biblical obligation, even without having a meal after Kiddush. But as long as they have the Kiddush, at least they fulfill their biblical obligation, and maybe that's what he had in mind. So again, maybe they're not fulfilling their rabbinic obligation with this Kiddush, but they are fulfilling their biblical obligation, and that seems to be what what they at least they fulfilled that, and he got great merit for that, even though surprisingly, even though he's not helping them fulfill their rabbinic obligation. Anyway, that's then yesterday I mentioned could be that maybe they did have their meal at the shul, and maybe they each had their own little meal there, so they ate. He made Kiddush for them, they ate. Maybe you could learn that way. I don't know. It doesn't seem like the commentary wanted to answer that, but maybe there is such an option of people would bring would have their little challah or whatever they bring the guests that were traveling. Maybe they would eat something and hear the Kiddush and eat something afterwards. Maybe you could learn that way, that they actually did have a meal, but they didn't bring Kiddush. I guess Kiddush is hard to travel with. Maybe a break, glass bottles, whatever. Anyway, that's the story. We're now up to the next piece of Gemara. Rav Iklo Lahu Astra. Mute everyone over here. Okay, so We're going to start now at this page 24a, and we're at this Rav Ikla. We're at about 8 lines from the bottom of the page, maybe. Yeah, we're about 8 lines from the bottom of the page. Here in the art scroll, it's 24a3. Rav Ikla Luasr. Rav went to a certain place that was suffering from a drought. So Gazar Tainisa. So he established, he decreed a fast. Layase Mitra, and the rain didn't come. Nochas kamei shlichut tzibur. A shliach tzibur went down in front of the ark and was going to lead the services. And he says, Amar Mashiv Aruach. It seemed like a similar story to the previous story, where he starts repeating the Shemona Esrei. He says, Mashiv Haruach, Hashem makes wind blow. V'nashiv Zeko, the wind blew. Amar Morid Geshem, he says, Hashem makes rain fall. And V'asa Mitra, if the rain fell. Amalei Mayoivdach, so he says, so what's your job? You must have some special merit. So Amar Lei, he says, Mikri Dardikiyano. I am a teacher of little children. And I teach the children the same, the ones that are children of poor and the children of the rich. I teach them equally. Whoever can't afford, isn't able to pay, I don't take any money from. And I have a pond of fish. Any of the children who are misbehaving, I bribe them, or I bribe him with a fish, with some of the fish. In other words, I say, okay, you want that? I take him out to my pond and I show him the fish. Mesadrinanle, I arrange it for him and I appease him. Ad asi v'kari, until he's interested in coming and learning. And basically, today's day and age, I don't think fish would have excited people. Maybe sour sticks or some other type of candy might go for it. But in the olden days, I guess they were thrilled to get some either fish to play with or to eat. That's a little unclear if they would if this was more like a toy that they would take home a fish, like a goldfish, or it was maybe it was just a good meal. Anyway, but he used to give them, he used to bribe the kids with prizes. So this is the original prize of the way of teaching, by giving little prizes without punishing. This is a very progressive Gemara, where the teachers would where this teacher was unique. He would give like a prize to the kid was misbehaving, and he would convince him to learn and give him something and arrange it and appease him until he was interested in learning. So in that merit, says that it rained, and when he asked Hashem for rain, Hashem immediately made it rain. The commentaries talk about what exactly is the connection. Just because he was a good teacher, why did Hashem listen to his prayers? And the commentaries talk about the fact that he would bring peace between peace. He was very peaceful in getting his students to learn. So in his merit, Hashem made peace between the people who had fields, that they didn't have to fight over the water because it rained. So it's almost like midah keneged midah, measure for measure. That he was
Rabbi,
Yes.
Rabbi,
It
Yeah.
reminds
did
me
the
of the
commentaries
story.
meant?
It
Oh,
Yeah.
reminds
I
Just
me
was
of
going to ask you.
David, just wait 1 second. Ezra started. Yeah, Ezra.
yeah, it reminds me of the story of Moshe and the lost sheep.
Uh-huh.
The
Uh-huh.
fact that he would go after it and try and get it to come back, and would do everything that he could. In fact, would carry it. So
Right.
I have a feeling that this is sort of a perhaps
Uh-huh.
a
Similar story, yeah.
similar story, and
Hmm. Right. Right. In other words, don't always blame the other person. Understand. Try to empathize.
yeah, and it's the fact that he's showing the Moshe qualities that's the reason why Hashem responded to his.
Uh-huh. Very nice. Very nice. Good insight. Yes. David.
I was just going to ask you if the commentaries mentioned whether the fish was for eating or for playing.
Yeah, it doesn't, I didn't see anything about that. Let me see if uh, commentaries, man. Let me see. Let me take one fast look here in the back. This, they bring anything about that. No, they don't seem to bring anything. They do bring this other point that I wanted to mention. That is that the uh, just like the this teacher didn't make a difference between if the students are wealthy or if they're poor. So Hashem brought rain, which basically waters the rich people's fields and the poor people's fields equally and doesn't differentiate. And and so that was one of the that was another point that's mentioned. I mentioned the other point about the fact that he was very peaceful in his teaching and he didn't really punish the students. He just you know, and so the same thing is Hashem made it rain in abundance that they didn't have to fight over the water, the field owners. But there's this other point there that just like he didn't make a difference between the poor and the rich, so also Hashem made it rain in a way that when it rains, everyone basically benefits. Okay, so that's all they mention here. Um, yeah. David, I thought you wanted to mention something from the Steinsaltz.
No,
You
no,
don't see anything there?
I just had that question regarding the
Uh,
fish, whether it was for playing
the
or eating.
fish, yeah, yeah. I'm not sure. Was it more like a game that people like to see? It looked like he made a business out of it. This teacher, like he had a business with his fish, but he would let the kids take home if if he needed to bribe them.
The first pets were pet fish.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I used to work with pet fish. That's all I know.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, I used to work in a pet shop in department stores taking care of the fish. And then they had dogs and cats, but the most common was fish because everybody could afford fish.
Uh-huh.
Taking care
Uh-huh.
of dog and cat was more expensive. But to
Right.
have a little goldfish, fish,
So do you have a fish tank in your house?
oh yeah, I had before I had yeah, I used to have a fish tank in my house
Uh-huh.
before Menachem was born because when
Uh-huh.
he was born he was pulling everything down, so we had to get rid of the fish tank.
Very nice, very nice. So I see Rabbeinu Hananel over here. He says, Isli pera de kavri de mafarnasana mine. I make a parnasa from this fish pond. Call let me just continue with this Rabbeinu Hananel. Command the pasha meshachadna lebehu adekari. Yeah, it doesn't really say what if they would was like a toy or more like a meal. I have a feeling it was more like a meal, like they would feel good. They're going to bring home a fish for dinner, but doesn't say, so I don't want to, can't really say for sure. Okay, anyway, yeah, I guess it could be the other, it could be like for the kids, it was just maybe he gave them the small fish that weren't worth anything. You couldn't really sell them. Maybe that's what he would give. So maybe it was more like a toy. Anyway, the Gemara now says another story of Rav Nachman. Okay, so Rav Nachman Gazar Tainisa. Rav Nachman established the fast, and V'layasa Mitra. Boy Rachme V'layasa Mitra. He asked for mercy, and rain didn't come. Amar Shaklu Nachman. He said, take Nachman Chavoitu and throw him in Goida from the wall La'ara to the earth. The Chalash Daite, and he became like depressed, like his prayers weren't working. You know, he's implying like he doesn't deserve to have this position. Anyway, he became depressed and humiliated. Vasa Mitra, and the rain came. Again, this idea that through humiliation, through people acting humble, their prayers are answered. And now comes the next Gemara. And the Gemara says, Rabba Gazar Tainisa. Rabba. There's a question over here if it really is Rabba, it might be Rava. The question of the commentaries, if this is the correct Girsa. Often we have that question. Rabba and Rava sometimes got interchanged because there's a difference of one letter. Anyway, our Gemara says Rabba was Geyser Tainus. Rabba decreed a fast. Boy Rachme, Layasa Mitra, he asked for mercy, and rain didn't come. Amru Le, they said to him, but Rav Yehuda have a Geyser Tainis Asa Mitra. When Rav Yehuda would make a fast, the rain came. What's your what sin are you doing, Rabba? Why are you not meriting the rain? This is sounds like we don't have it sounds like we don't have the right leadership over here. So he says, Amar lahu my avid. What should I do? I don't know. I don't know what the problem is. Imishum tenuya, he says, if it's about the Torah study, maybe you're going to say Rabbi Yehuda's Torah study in his time was greater than in today. Ananadiva minai, we have a greater Torah study. The B'shnei Rabbi Yehuda, in the years of Rabbi Yehuda, all they studied was the Nazikin, was the law, monetary laws. Called Tenuye B'Nazikin Hava. Turn the page, 24b. All the studies then was in the order of the monetary laws, Nazikin, Baba Kama, Baba Tzia, Baba Basra, that's all they studied basically. And today, Vanan and us, we are studying all 6 orders of the Mishnah. When Rabbi Yehuda would get up to an area of uksin, which uksin means the stem of fruit, and basically it has laws of tuma and tahara, things that are become impure. If something impure touches the stem, does that have an impact on the fruit itself? And does the stem itself become tummy if it's not edible? Is it a handle to the fruit so that the stem is like used as a handle, and then maybe it wouldn't be considered an intermediary to get to cause the fruit to become tamei, to become impure. Anyway, so there's a lot of complicated laws, the laws of uktzin. So it says when Rabbi Yehuda would study these laws, like for example, this Mishnah, Ha'isha shekeveshes yerek b'kadera. A woman is she is soaking vegetables in a pot. Or and some say that the Mishnah was talking is that it's the cases olives that have their leaves attached to them. So the question is, if something impure touches the leaves or does that make the olives impure? So it says tahar, tahirin, they stay pure. And the different understandings of the Mishnah, but basically it has to do with the fact that these type of attachments to the fruit, the leaves, and they're because they're being they're going to fall off and they're not really usable as handles, so they don't actually convey the tumah from the leaves to the fruits. So these type of issues, Amar of Yehuda would say, Havayos de Ravu Shmuel kochazina hacha. I see here the questions of Rav and Shmuel, and meaning that these are very vague. I wish we could understand it better. We need to understand these Mishnayos clearer. That's what he was saying, that Rav and Shmuel's questions here would really be appropriate. And that was when Rav Yehuda would study Uktzin. And us, Rabbah says, Vanan, Komasninan books and Tleisar Masifta. We have 13 schools that study this tractate here. So in other words, we have reached a whole different level of scholarship than in his days. So why should it can't be that because we are less scholars that's why God is not listening to my prayers? We have even greater, we're much greater than they were in the days of Rav Yehuda. And yet, the Ilu Rav Yehuda, have a Shalav Chad Masana, all he needed to do when he would take off one of his shoes, which was some type of afflicting himself. Nevertheless, all he took off was one shoe. It would start, Asi Mitra would start raining. The rain would come. We could cry all day, fun. And no one pays attention to us, meaning Hashem is not listening. And if you want to say maybe our actions are not as good as the actions in the days of Rav Yehuda, if you know of anything that we're lacking, we're doing inappropriately, please tell it. Say, speak up. Well, what can the leaders of the generation do? That our generation is not favorable in the eyes of Hashem. So what he means to say, seemingly, is that maybe it's the generation. It's not. What can I say? I'm the leader. If you know of anything that I'm doing wrong, tell me. But it seems like maybe this is a problem of the congregation, the people. Maybe the people aren't favorable in the eyes of Hashem. Maybe it's the people's fault. Rabbi Yehuda Chaza. What?
Rabbi, I have a question, Rick.
Yeah.
They bring in Uktzin over here. We had a story in previous Gemaras where Uktzin played an important part in which two rabbis were about to spring a trap, and one of the I guess on the Av Beit Din, and someone overheard and basically taught Uktzin to the Av Beit Din, so that when they asked questions at the next class or next sitting, he was prepared. Right. And then, of course, that led to all kinds of problems. So is there a connection between A and B?
Yeah, it seems it all boils down to the fact that Uktzin is not considered an easy tractate, and it's not a commonly studied tractate. And because of that, uh, it would be a good place if you wanted to make fun of someone that they don't know it. You good chance that you take Uktzin and tell them you'll test them in Uktzin. It's like go to some big Rosh Hashiva and make a big public you know uh, event where you say, and this rabbi, we're going to ask him some questions in Uktzin, and let's see, we'll show how what a scholar he is. I mean, it's even today, it's like it's not a tractate that most people know. So it would be it's like it's a complicated tractate that's not often learned. And that's basically what our Gemara is also saying, that Rav Yehuda, he didn't feel himself like a scholar in Uktzin. So it was like, he studied the Mishnayos, but he says, if it's like I see here, like questions of Rav and Shmuel that would be nice if we could have clarity in this through Rav and Shmuel's type of way of analyzing things. But so it boils down to that same idea that Uktzin was not a well-known tractate. Okay, so the next Gemara is Rav Yehuda Chazahanu Beitrei. Rav Yehuda saw that there were two people, the Havoka Partzi Berifta. They were throwing the bread or kicking the bread, basically playing with the bread, and which is inappropriate. And Rashi says they threw it one to the other. They were partsy. They were acting, I guess, rebellious, like with bread. They were throwing it to each other, playing with each other. And Amar, he said, Shmami na ikasava bailam. I see from here, Rabbi Yehuda says that there's an abundance of food. If they're throwing around bread, probably they have so much. So Yoav Eine, he put his eyes upon them, meaning he was like with anger, with a negative thought about the people. They have such abundance and they're just throwing around bread. So Havakafna became a famine. In other words, he looked negative at them. All of a sudden, it was caused there to be a famine. Now, Gemara continues and says that Amrulei Rabbana Rav Kahana Bered Rav Nechunya Shame. So the rabbi said to Rav Kahana, who was the son of Rav Nechunya, the attendant of Rav Yehuda. So it's he's the Rav Kahana. They said to Rav Kahana that he should, because his father is a regular, he's the attendant at Rav Yehuda. So he said to the son, Mar de Shchiach Kameh, you are often there. Niyase the Lepek Pischa the Samach L'Shuka. Cause Rav Yehuda, excuse me, to come to the door that's near the marketplace, and he'll see what type of famine is going on. Maybe he could daven for us. Now, he's the one who brought about this famine, and he should maybe he will be able to pray for it and remove it. So Asye Benafik L'Shuka, he made it happen, made him come out that door. He went out to the marketplace. Chazak Kanufya saw a whole gathering of people. Amar lahu my high. He says, what's this gathering? Amrulay, they said, Akusba de Tamri Kaime de Komazabin. They are waiting for a container. They're standing here. They're waiting for a container of dates that's being sold. They're all fighting over this one container of dates, and it's basically a shortage, and people are just to buy a few dates. Tomorrow, Amar Shmami no kafna balmi. He says, "Oh, it looks like there's a famine." Amalei l'shame. So he told his shamesh, Shleifli Masani, take off my shoes. I have to start afflicting myself. And I'm going to start davening. Shalaf Lechad Masana. So he took off one shoe. Valsa Mitra. The rain started coming. And when he wanted to remove the other one, Elijah appeared. V'amar said, Amar Kodesh Baruch Hu, Hashem said, he shalafas achrina. If you take off the other shoe, macharivna liyalma, I'm going to destroy the world. So you better not take off your other shoe. It's enough. You have one shoe. That'll be fine. Let's stop here. And so that's the story of Rav Yehuda. The Gemara says a continuation over here. Amar Rav Mari Breder Rav Barad the Bas Shmuel Rav Mari, who was the grandson of Shmuel. It was the son of Shmuel's daughter. He says, "Ana hava kaimna aguda denahar papa." I was standing the riverbank of the river called River Papa. Chaze lamalachi, saw angels, the damo lamalachi that looked like sailors. The kamaisi chala, they're bringing sand. Umalunhu la'arbe, and they are filling the boats. Vavakimchi desmida, and it turned into flour that was fine flour, smida, kimcha desmida. The sand turned into flour. So in other words, these angels were looking like sailors that were bringing sand and filling the boats with it, and it turned into flour. Also, so people started coming there to buy flour. Amar lahume yahaloi tizbud. So this Rav Mari, the grandson of Shmuel, he said, don't buy this flour. The Maisa Nisim, because this flour is the product of a miracle. It is not appropriate. If you don't have to benefit from a miracle, then you shouldn't. Don't buy from this flour. Lemachar Asyan Arbe de Chiti de Parzina. The next day, the wheat of Parzina will arrive, and then you'll get regular wheat. And so that's the story here of how seemingly that the sand immediately turned into flour when he took off his shoe, when Rabbi Yehuda took off his shoe, and at least that's the way Rashi learns it. I was standing on Nahar Papa that day that Rabbi Yehuda did this, and this is what happened. And this Rav Mari said, but better not to benefit from this if you don't have to, because you're not supposed to benefit. You benefit from a miracle, then takes away from your merit.
Rabbi, I have a question on a previous.
Yeah.
When he's told don't remove because otherwise God will have to destroy the world.
whatever
That's a
that means. Yeah.
that's a problem because God basically said that he would never destroy the world with rain or with water.
Uh-huh.
So I don't understand. Is he saying that by, you know, because of the logic of what continues from the previous statements, the assumption is that the destruction will be through water, which is problematic considering what we have in the Torah itself.
Yeah, that is a good question. What does it mean that Hashem will destroy? He opened. In other words, can't Hashem just not make it happen? In other words, like, well, what does it mean? If you do this, if you take off your other shoe, it's automatic that the world is destroyed. Can't I just stop it? That's another seemingly valid option. Uh, but you're asking, how could Hashem destroy the world if he made a promise? He's not going to destroy the world, at least through water. Um, Sorry, excuse me. So what it seems like is that maybe it doesn't mean literally that I'm going to destroy the world. Means that maybe there'll be a flood here. It'll destroy. Yeah, it'll destroy some part of the world. It'll be too much. There is a commentary here that mentions that it's all about Hashem didn't want him to afflict himself more, and it's embarrassing to take off your shoe in public. So he's taking off his other shoe. Hashem said, "Don't take off the other shoe. If you do, I'll have to destroy the world." But what it really, the meaning of it was, I don't want you to have to embarrass yourself and and do more. This is good enough, and it's not it's not wanted for you. I don't want you to do the other to do more. Why he exactly uses that word that I'll destroy the world? That I don't know. I have to look up that commentary. But there is such a pshat there. But anyway, the point is that it probably doesn't mean it literally. Let me see if any of the commentaries here say anything. Machrivna lialma. They bring a Marsha here that says that the reason that Hashem didn't want because he's making Hashem matriach koina yoiser midai. He's sort of making Hashem do too drastic of a miracle. First, he wanted there to be a famine, then he wants there to be sustenance, and now he's going to do it even more. And so it says, don't go overboard. The Yavitz brings so they do bring something that this answers your question maybe. He says the kavana was that he takes off his other shoe, he's actually going to get cold and die, and he's called an olam katan. A person is called a world, and so he says that if you take your other thing, machrivna lialma, I'm going to destroy the world, meaning I'm going to destroy you. That you're going to have to die. So don't take off the other shoe because you'll die from the cold. Sounds like it might have been a very cold day, and he was probably very weak and sick. And basically, Hashem said, "Don't." So it doesn't. According to the Yavitz, it doesn't mean he's destroying the world. It means he's protecting his health. Anyway, that is one pshat that they bring, which does answer the question. All right. Anyway, the next story here is one second. The end of this story was Lamachar Asyan Arbe Dechiti de Parzina. Right, the next day, the boats came from Parzina of Arvid of wheat, and basically they were able to get regular wheat. Okay, yeah. So the next story is Rava. Rava Ikla lahagronya. Rava came to Hagronya. We're on 24b, and probably about 35 lines from the top of the page. Rava Ikla lahagronya. A little past halfway down the page, I think. If you're in the art scroll, it's 24b2, second paragraph. Rava Ikla lahagronya. Rava went to Hagronya, Gazar Tainisa. He proclaimed a fast. Lasa Mitra, it didn't rain. Amar lahu, he said, Bisu, Kulei Alma Batani Saich. All of you should continue the fast even at night, and don't break your fast, and just continue fasting. The next day he said to them, if anyone saw a dream, let them say it. Amalahu Rabbi Lazar of Agronya said, to me, I was called in the dream, Shlam Tav L'Rav, May Riboin Tav. Shalom Shlam Tav is good greetings to the rabbi, to the teacher, L'Rav Tav, to the good teacher. Good greetings to the good teacher. May Riboin Tav, from the good master. De mituve metiv liame, from his goodness he will do good to his nation. Amar, so Rava said, Shma mina isrotin he mi boy rachme. I see from this dream that you had that this is an opportune time. It's an ace rotzing. Going to ask for mercy. This is a good time. Boy rachme vasi mitra. Sure enough, he asked for mercy and from Hashem, and the rain came, and it's an interesting story of how they slept in the fast while fasting. In other words, they continued the fast even through the night. And someone had a dream. This Rabbi Lazar Hagranya. Now the Gemara has a story. There was a person who deserved to have lashes in the Bezdin of Rava. Mishum de Baal Kutis, because he had relations with a non-Jew. Nagde Rava gave him lashes. Umis, and the man died. Ishtaba Milsa Beishvar Malka, and the king was known as King Shapur, found out about this story. This is in the Persian Mesopotamia's area, and this is the King Shapur, and he heard about this. Ba letzuure l'Rava, he wanted to punish Rava. Amar le Ifra Hermiz, the Ifra Hermiz said to him, who was the Ime Dishvar Malkal of Ra, the mother of this King Shapur, she said, Loi leve lach esak devarim bahade yudai. Don't mess with the Jews. Koman debayin mimarayu yavlu. Whatever they ask from their God, he's going to give them. So the mother of this emperor told him off and said, don't mess. And basically, so what does it say? Amar la maihi. So he said, what are you referring to? That their God will give them if they ask. Bayin rachme vasi mitra. She said, whenever they ask for rain, the rain comes. Amar la, he said to her, homishum de zimna de mitrahu. That's because it's the rain season, and they would have come any case. Okay, let's see they ask for rain now in the middle of the summer if it rains? Malasi Mitra, let's see. The rain happens now, then I believe you that they have special powers. Don't mess with them. So so they sent for Rava to come and she sent for Rava and Kabein Daitoch Uboin Rachme the Lacy Mitra. She said to him, pray that rain should come. By Rachme V'layasi Mitra. So he prayed, and but rain didn't come. Amar Lafanav, he said before Hashem, Rabbeinu Shalom, Elokim Baz Neinu Shamanu Abiseinu Sipru Lanu Hashem. We have heard with our ears. Our fathers have told us. Poyal Pa'alta B'Mehem B'Mei Kedem. The things you used to do in the days of old, which basically is referring to Shmuel when he asked for rain, even though it wasn't the time of rain, it was in the summer, it was when they were asking for a king. V'anu be'inenu lo'ra'inu, we, and with our eyes, I'm not eligible to see this. We weren't given that opportunity. Asa Mitra. So it started raining ad the shapoch marzavi the tzipori lediglas. The rains came so much. It was the rain came till the rains were going from the house in Tzipori to the Diglas River, the Tigris River. So from the Marzavi is the gutters. Was pouring from the gutters all the way down the gutters of Tzipori to this Tigris River. Also, Avua is Chazile B'Chelma. Rabba's father came and appeared. Vamalei said to him, "Miika Dimitrach Kamishmaya Kulei Hai." Is there someone who's bothering Hashem so much? Amar lei shane duchtech, go change your place. Shane duchte, so he changed this place. Lemachar ashkache demirsham purye v'sakina. The next day he saw that there were knives in his bed, so he changed his bed, changed where he slept, and basically Rashi over here brings down that the Shindalids, the demons, he said, don't, he said, Ashni mitascha, change your bed. Rashi actually has a different girsa. It says, Ashni mitascha. Argamar just says, change your place. He says, change your mita, your bed. Don't sleep in your bed tonight. He says, because the demons, turned out that the demons came to kill you, and they cut up your bed. And basically he was saved because he went to sleep somewhere else. Anyway, that's the story of the asking for rain in order to show that better not start with the Yidden, because by starting because they can ask for whatever they want. Even in the summer it could rain. Sure enough, Rava accomplished that, and it did rain. And I guess he was freed from the fact that he had killed this person, obviously by mistake, because he was punishing this person, and ended up the person died. And King Shapur found out about it, but sounds like maybe he let him go. All right, we're going to stop here. Have a wonderful Shabbos, everyone. Sei gesund.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay.
Shabbos.
Bye-bye.